So, over the past few weeks, I went back to the UK for Christmas to see my family. But first, I had to get there. The journey to the airport through Calgary was great, and I even got to see parts of the city that I hadn't seen before, like the Chinatown. Once I arrived in the UK, after having navigated Heathrow Airport,
Heathrow's a maze beyond human comprehension if you're trying to get anywhere else apart from by car or by bus.
I found the Piccadilly line and travelled to King Cross Station. Even though it was December 24th, public transport seemed surprisingly quiet. However, after collecting my tickets from King's Cross, I travelled to London Euston.
London Euston. I've never been to this train station before.
And took the train to the north. After getting my Christmas presents, spending some quality time with my family, and spending some nice time at the farm, we all got in the car and travelled back to Lincolnshire. Here I made sure to do all the British things, like getting fish and chips and going to the panto. When in early January it came for the time that I needed to go back, it turned out my dad was going down to London to meet up with some friends around the same time, and so he drove me down to London. After navigating a nightmarish car park, we settled in our hotel, and my flight was the next day. However, as my flight was in the afternoon, we could spend the morning looking at a couple of things. We travelled down to Whitechapel and walked on over into the City of London to the Guildhall. I had been in here before, but hadn't quite spent as much time as I did this time. We got to see the wonderful art collection they have, along with the Roman amphitheatre, which just so happened to have been built at exactly the same spot, which they then uncovered during renovations. As the resident history student, many of my dad's friends asked about the Roman Empire. Luckily, I often think of the Roman Empire. However, after this, it was time for me to head to Heathrow Terminal 4 to catch my flight. This time I was flying with WestJet instead of Air Canada, which, despite the delay, was, I think, a more pleasant experience than Air Canada. The food was better anyway. Since I already had my study permit, I spent far less time in security this time, as they only needed to check my document was valid. Once I left, I then took the bus all the way back to the university.
And we're out. Perfectly fine this time. It's minus 13 outside, and somehow I feel warmer here than I did in the UK, where it doesn't even go below -5. We're back in Calgary, and it's really cold. Look at the snow, at the trees. We are back at the accommodation. It is now 8 o'clock, about 2 hours after I got out of the airport. Still not that cold. The buses are nice and heated, unlike the ones in the UK. I've now definitely spent more than 24 hours straight awake. It was a very nice walk. The trees weren't like this when I left. That's beautiful, that is.
Next week, I'll report back on the induction to the winter term that I'll be doing, along with maybe a few other things that I might end up doing. But until the next time, I'll see you later.